All right, listeners, welcome back to Two Boy Swag. Sorry for the missed episode from last week. I've been having a rough one. I will not even lie. Anyways, this is DJ Pissboy here, present in this room, in this recording studio. It's just my apartment. It's just my desk. But you're with me too at this desk, as I am wherever you are right now. That was corny as hell. I've listened to way too much. Welcome to radio. Welcome to Night Vale radio show, the podcast. Like so much of it when I was a kid, so it's affected me mentally. Anyways, today I think I'm going to talk about the monstrous feminine because I have been telling myself, you need to sit down and write something about the monstrous feminine and write a little pocket scene or something, but I've been lazy, so I haven't done that, so I'm just going to speak it here, and maybe when I speak it here, I'll want to make it into a scene. So, I have a lot of thoughts about the monstrous feminine. I always have. Monstrous feminine is such an interesting concept. Basically, like, kind of, if you haven't read The Monstrous Feminine by Barbara Creed, the monstrous feminine is basically the conceptualization of, like, monstrous women and femininity of womanhood that's seen in the horror genre. That's basically what's monstrosized is the like sexuality and like lack of purity of women, like or basically just kind of an impurity of women in a natural way or a supernatural way, or like the supernatural ways reflect natural disgusts. Like, well, not natural disgust, but like inherently, like kind of like the monstrosity of birth, of how there's the immaculate conception, but like actual birth is grotesque and painful and bloody and terrible. And there's a horror to it, right? And like this goes into like so many different aspects of what we consider cultural and like basis is like it could be like modern horror stories, but it could also be like a biblical like not horror but like biblical craziness and zaniness, or like mythological houses where it's like supernatural in real life, but it's on a religious basis, you know? For instance, I've seen like people talk about some of like the moms in like Greek tragedy and Greek legend, that a lot of it is about the monstrosity of womanhood and like relationships with motherhood, both by like the child and the mother, and like almost, I know this is a male illusion, but Saturn eating his son. That level of like violence and destruction that's inherent to parenthood. I'm so sorry to become mumbling. I've been eating some Starburst right now. Quite delicious. This is really good Starburst. And like in Barbara Creed's book, it's more examining like horror films, but like this idea transcends like film. It goes into like literature, like I said, and mythology, and also like just how we perceive women in general. And it's a really interesting book. I really recommend it. That's an interesting flavor. What flavor is that? Sorry, I ate a watermelon Starburst. That was fucking delicious. Really good Starburst. Very chewy though. It's hard to speak. So, like, what I've been thinking about a lot, and it's kind of was spurred on by a movie. I was watching Play with the White Worm. And it had been a while since I had a monstrous feminine thinking about phase. You know, I think about it every so often when I remember the pieces of media or like a poem or something writing or some characters in the show I'm watching really remind me of it in some way. And I think this was brought up because I've just been having a moment. I was like thinking about this movie on and off. Life of the White Worm is a really great movie. It's made by Ken Russell. That he's a really interesting movie maker because his stuff is almost camp. He's almost like a heterosexual John Waters. Like a lot of his stuff is just for like the horror of it all or the monstrosity and the grotesqueness of it all. He's just trying to do the most he fucking can. Akin to like John Waters, except where he's straight. And what I mean by this is like his films have a queerness to them. They're all very queer, but they're also so violently heterosexual at the same time. These do not exist together. They exist separately to each other. If it isn't queering heterosexuality, it's almost like a conversion therapy situation where it's consuming each other. Not in the synchronous. The queer illusions are often more on like a binary scale, I would say. But there's a lot of like almost like bisexual illusioning and whatever. You could call that gray area really in Ken Russell, but I think it's arguable because I don't think his violent heterosexuality and like violent queerness go together necessarily. They're in like a dissonance with each other. It just whimsically works for his films. And like he's a really interesting director. He's directed Tommy, he directed oh god, what else has he directed? He directed like The Lithomania, Women in Love, Lair of the White Worm is one of his most famous. Altered States, that's the one I was thinking of. Really interesting movie. A lot of his works are really sexual, really almost meaningless to a degree. I think like a really apt one would be Baz Luhrmann. I'd be an apt comparison. But he's more sexual and violent, like so expressively, so expression filled in his sexuality. There's a lot of allusions to other works. Nazism is a really big one. Deborah will probably shoot me for forgetting. Yeah, it was Lithomania. Where like Wagner like becomes like a Nazi or something at the end of it. Yeah, basically Wagner is resurrected as a Frankenstein Hitler, and it's really interesting, and it just goes all over the place. And it's really, really like intensely like horrible. But Lair of the White Worm is basically an adaptation of like a Bram Stoker, Bram Stoker, book or short story. I think it's a short story. Basically, it's about basically the whole film. At least I haven't read the short story. Is about basically a young archaeologist who's played by Peter Capaldi. Goes to a bed and breakfast to work on this town and excavating a convent. And there's like the lord of this area in like modern terms is a young man. He's Lord Ampton of like basically there's a descendant of like a like more medieval figure who like slayed a white worm in their area and like liberated the town. It's kind of like local folklore legends, and he's like he is a descendant of this guy. He's a young guy. He's played like Hugh Grant, and he's kind of the other male protagonist in it. And like basically, the archaeologist played by Capaldi is like finds the skull, this really weird skull in this convent, this ex-convent site, and is like, whoa, what is this? And then Lord Ampton's like, oh my god, I want to see this. But there's this lady who's like this just mysterious woman who comes back to town. She doesn't really come back to town very often, but her name's Lily Sylvia. And basically she's one of the worms. And she's like this seductive like temptress. like she's not a worm herself, but she's like a servant to the worm, as like a priestess. She's almost like she's is a worm in a way, but like she serves something greater than herself. And basically the whole story is about them trying to stop this evil snake lady. But sorry, starburst again. But she has a really interesting relationship with the two women in this story who are sisters. She's very sexual and seductive with them. She doesn't kill them or use them for any, like, she doesn't like kill them or immediately turn them. She like is using them as objects, I guess, as sacrifices. And like her whole like Lady Sylvia's costume, she has like a strap on. It's in the art. They talk about it a little bit, making jokes of like, oh, women's liberation, you know. But there's something really sexual and typically like monstrous, feminine, lesbian adjacency, like sexy vampire lady, lesbians from outer space, you know, like it's so very queer and so very monstrous in its queerness. And basically she like tries to sacrifice, they save her, but they get bitten. Angus is like, cool, I have anti-venom, and he thought was anti-venom, but it was but it turns out it's just like a fucking arthritis medicine. So it's useless to him. It's completely fucking useless. And basically in the end, he like finds out that like what he's not cured of the vampiric sensibilities of that Sylvia had as a seductress, which used for seductress means, an evil means, and he accepts it. He almost like accepts his fate. And it ends really like abruptly with the reveal of, oh, he's actually been bitten and he's gonna probably be evil. I fucking love that movie. Sorry to go on about it for so long, but basically I want to write like a little book where Lilzine talking about the monstrous feminine as it's captured in manhood and like masculine sensibilities of like, and how Peter Capaldi's character basically like is a man in the monstrous feminine. Like his monstrosity is inherently feminine, but he himself is a man. This is a lot of thought I'm giving to a Ken Russell movie, which I know I'm aware of how it looks. But I think it's really interesting, especially how like, because like femininity, like the monstrous feminine, monstrous feminine is often talked about as connected to womanhood, of like woman sexuality and biology being monstrous. But something like in gender, like femininity and is not inherently tied to womanhood and is kind of separate from womanhood, although it can be connected. And while this is connected, it also isn't inherently connected. And I think when you separate femininity and like the monstrous feminine with womanhood, it's the separation of femininity from womanhood is inherently monstrous, because it's feminine womanhood as a concept of patriarchy is like constructed by the patriarchy as kind of in the line of the like divine feminine, the divine feminine as in like the Immaculate Conception of Mary, of Mary's mother, like the Pietà, like in that vision of like a woman's femininity is also their innocence, also the immaculateness of a woman. But when you separate a woman from femininity, that itself is inherently monstrous. And I feel like the application of femininity onto non-women and the separation of like womanhood and femininity just overall, and even if that's a transmutation to another gender, it's inherently monstrous, because like all the entire like summation of like the monstrous feminine is built on basically like the antithetical, and is it built on being antithetical to the male gaze. So like the male gaze, where feminine women and femininity in a specific degree and in a specific way is treasured, but any other way that femininity is expressed that is completely different or completely against what the male gaze is catered it down to, is always monstrous. So like you can't like men and like masculinities are really hard, have never really been like meshed with the monstrous feminine. But I think like where like femininity in men and like feminine applying like like almost okay in Angus's case and like Peter Capaldi's character's case, he is a man like and really has no questioning of his malehood throughout the film. He's like kind of pathetic and he's kind of like a nerd, but he's like the hero at the end of the day. He's the underdog. You really like him. He's just like a normal guy. But like the monstrosity that Lady Sylvia, who's the main villain, the antagonistic, scary, like mean lesbian vampire, who is almost like a Jennifer from Jennifer's Body, like character, like a succubus in a way. Like the implication at the end of the movie is that he gets her curse, or he is cursed the same way she is cursed. And him leaning into it and like accepting it instead of being woe is me, like I need to kill myself, I'm a monster. He like takes it on. He's like, yeah. He has a smirk at the end, and he's kind of sinister with it. He has a moment of panic, and you see that scene at the end of the movie where he's like in the mirror, like feeling his teeth and stuff. And there's like something that clicks in his head of like I need to do this almost. And I think where you got like his like masculinity is unquestioned. He is a guy, presumably throughout the entire movie. There is no coding in any other way. He's just some dude, but he takes on the mantle that like the entire film is constructed around this seductive, very queer woman. Is inherently queer. And I think yeah, that's like the majority of my thoughts that kind of came from Lair of the White Worm. But I've been thinking about it a lot, I guess, in how we view androgyny and like masculine, because I feel like androgyny as a concept is really built on like the like more feminine, sterilized, almost divine in an angelic sense of personhood and bodily-hood. It's a very like skinny, it's very white, it's very thin, it's very pale, it's um very like untouched and unmarked by any masculinities or negative femininities that may exist. They're sexless beings. And sexless but also sex filled, you know? But like it's been I think for like masculine and also like trans femme, just trans people in general, whose bodies are kind of vilified as grotesque creations or grotesque malformations. Like there's something powerful about like accepting that monstrosity and being yourself, even if it's like an unseen like monstrosity. At least like I've been thinking about it because I've seen like so many people online, especially like young trans guys or like trans guys who haven't started T, or like trans masculine people who like want to try T, but they're like, oh, I want to go on T, but I don't want bottom growth. And I feel like that's valid to have. Like you're valid to have your opinions, and you're valid to have your opinions about yourself and what you want out of transition, especially transition. But you think like this this diswant for like bottom growth is really just tied to like preoccupations of like beauty standards that are like put on by the male gaze. Like there's an inherently like doll like fascination with like the vagina of like wanting to be smooth, pristine, small, pretty, cute, whatever like verbiage you use for it. And like bottom growth really goes against it and kind of creating something that like is abnormal but is also like powerful. I don't know. Just been something I've been thinking about. Anyways, here's a nice little musical break to break up this little mess. We'll be back And I'm going to talk more about, Monsters Feminine, and then maybe I'll bring up my zine. We'll see about that.
I was 17 when I heard the countdown start. It started slowly. I thought it was my heart, but then I realized this time it was for real. There was no place to hide. I had to go out and feel, but there was time to kill. I walked my way around town. I tried to love the world, but the world just got me down. Oh, so I looked for you in every street of every town. I wanna see your face. I wanna see you now. Yeah, I wanna see you now. So it went. So it went for several years. I couldn't stand it. It must be getting near. Oh no, you just don't know. No, you just don't understand how many times I've seen you in the arms of some other man. I've got to meet you and find you and take you by the hand. My God, you've got to understand that I was 17. I didn't know a thing at all. I've got no reason at all. Oh no. Time of my life. I think you came too soon. You came too soon, babe. And it could be tonight if I ever leave this room. I never leave this room. Wasting all my time and all those stupid things that only get you down. Get down. Oh, and the sky is crying out tonight for me to leave this town. So we're gonna go, really. Bye-bye. You can leave me. You can go some other place. You can forget it. Oh, that's okay because I own this town. I brought it to its knees. Can you hear it crying, yeah? Can you hear it begging to me, please? I know it's coming so soon now. It's on its way. Oh no, my God. I can hear them say, they say it's all a lie. They say I'll never leave the ground. They say I can't survive. But it's coming down, oh baby, now please. Time of my life. I think you came too soon. It came too soon, baby. And it could be tonight if I ever leave this room. I never leave this room. Wasting all my time and all those stupid things that only get me down. Get down. Oh, and the sky is crying out tonight for me to leave this town. So I'm gonna go, yeah, really, see ya. Bye-bye. Okay, you don't have to care. Really, I swear. You're nothing to me. If I mess it up, babe, then that's all up to me. And if you go, then I won't follow, no. Well, so many times I've been thinking maybe I should. No, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna make my way. I'm gonna get on through, babe. I'm gonna make it all someday. Oh, baby, now time of my life. I think you came too soon. It came too soon, babe. And it could be tonight. Oh, if I ever leave this room, I never ever leave this room. Wasting all my time and all those stupid things that only get me down. Get down. Oh, and the sky is crying out tonight for me to leave this town. I'm gonna leave this town. Oh, no, baby, now time is crying out tonight for me to leave this town. I'm gonna leave this town. Oh, no, baby, now time is crying out tonight for me to leave this Understand me, understand me, understand me. Some people have to be permanently together. Lovers devoted to each other forever. Now I've got things to do, and I said before that I know you have to. When I'm not there, in spirit I'll be there. Here is a plea from my heart to you. Nobody knows me as well as you do. You know how hard it is for me to shake the disease that takes hold of my tongue in situations like these. Understand me, understand me, understand me, understand me. Here is a plea from my heart to you. Nobody knows me as well as you do. You know how hard it is for me to shake the disease that takes hold of my tongue in situations like this. From my heart to you. Nobody knows me as well as you do. You know how hard it is for me to shake the disease that takes hold of my tongue in situations like these. There is a plea from my heart to you. Nobody knows me as well as you do. You know how hard it is for me. With the fire from the fireworks up above me, with a gun for a lover and a shot for the payback man. You run for cover in the temple of love. You run for another, but still the same. For the wind will blow my name across this land. In the temple of love, you hide together. Believing pain and fear outside, but someone near you rides the weather, and the tears he cried will rain on walls as wide as lover's eyes. In the temple of love, shine like thunder. In the temple of love, cry like rain. In the temple of love, need to see. Give to me everything I need. The future is shining like a giant metal beast. It shines so bright tonight, with its legs open wide. And love is blind, falls in love with itself again, like it never should, the way it always can. And she is mine, but the world is much bigger now. Oh, tell me, should I hold her hand and give her love, or take her heart and throw it far away? Oh, now is the time to jump into it all. I'll just hold my nose and try not to fall, to seek and to find. Instead of walking around with eyes glued to the sky, I turn them down to the ground. Oh, and I used to think that maybe one day I'd find the love of my life. Oh, but it's so far away, oh, I don't know why. Oh, but I want it all tonight. And love is blind, falls in love with itself again, like it never should, the way it always can. And she is mine, but the world is so much bigger now. Oh, tell me, should I hold her hand and give her love, or take her heart and throw it far away? We held hands, and we looked out of the bedroom window. We could see all the buildings collapsing around us, so we kissed, and we laid on the bed, and we waited for the ceiling to fall in. But it never did. In the morning it was all still there. The spilled milk and the dog turds in that grey ashtray morning light. I could hear thousands of people, and they were all singing this song. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. La, 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 la. Hey, butcher! Oh, hey, butcher! What's your name? Oh, hey, butcher, what's your game? Oh, you take all their love and you suck out their eyes, and then you rip out their hearts and you eat their insides. Yeah, then you just walk away with a smile on your face. Hey, butcher, I've seen your face before. And love, na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. And love is blind.
tragic waste of skin. I'm well aware of how it aches, and you still won't let me in. Now I'm breaking down your door to try and save your swollen face. Though I don't like you anymore, you lying, trying waste of space. Before our innocence was lost, you were always one of those less good lucky sevens, and a voice that made me cry. My oh my, you were Mother Nature's son, someone to whom I could relate. Your needle and your damage done remains a sordid twist of fate. Now I'm trying to wake you up, to pull you from the liquid sky. 'Cause if I don't, we'll both end up with just your songs to say goodbye. My oh my, a song to say goodbye, a song to say goodbye, a song to say before our innocence was lost. You were always one of those blessed with lucky sevens, and a voice that made me cry. It's a song to say goodbye. 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 It's a song to say goodbye.
Alright, I feel like you enjoyed the music break. Welcome back, listeners. It's Evan. Hope DJ Piss Boy, I mean. Oh god, I just got heartburn. In the meantime, since I've last spoke to you, I made myself dinner. I made rice, black beans, and eggs, and it's quite good, I will not lie. Very simple to make. Just canned beans, 3 eggs, adobo seasoning for both the beans and the eggs, and then white rice in rice cooker. Didn't even wash it. Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to figure out what I want to talk about this entire episode, and it hasn't really been going anywhere. I figure if I keep talking, maybe I'll get somewhere. I'm not sure. I think like with my like current little interest in Lair of the White Worm, it's just kind of like I think a lot of myself and like my work has like a lot of interest in fucked up little guys. I love fucked up little guys. They're my favorite genre of people because they've got so much going on. And it's so much, and it's so bad. I'll have you know that these beans and rice taste fucking amazing. They're delicious. It's very hot though, not in a spicy way, just actual temperature way. Beans and rice, fucking delicious, amazing. have always been amazing. Ooh. I guess you're getting this performance piece of me eating. But I think, yeah, I really don't have anything to say for this episode, really. I think I'm going to be making some more zines. I made a zine last week for my LGBT studies class, and that was really, really, like, interesting. Because it was like a manifesto assignment. I really don't give a shit about manifestos, because I'm not a manifesto person. I like reading them, I don't want to make them. I think delusional people are hilarious. Well, I will. I did a zine. I might print some out if you're interested. I think I'm going to make more. Okay. That's it for the episode today, guys. Bye-bye.